Welcome back. This is Hope at Dawn right here at Hope TV. This is where you look and live. We promised you that once we are back, we'll be looking at what is being reported in the dailies. And we do have the dailies with us in studio. And looking at the Daily Nation this morning, they go with the headline, "More pain as NSSF rates set to go up." State is expected to calculate monthly deductions based on lower and upper earning limits. So they're saying confusion. As the first year of implementing the NSSF Act of 2013 lapses this month, the Ministry of Labour and the fund are yet to inform employers and employees about how the next level of new higher deductions is to be arrived at in the graduated plan that will eventually take away 6% of workers' salaries.
What?
You can read that on page 7.
Okay.
And going to page 7, so they're saying it is more pain as the NSSF rate set to go up next month. And you can read that in details. So they're saying effectively, since February last year, employees earning 6,000 shillings have been contributing 360 shillings, as those earning 18,000 shillings and above contribute 1,080 shillings to the mandatory pension fund, with their employers matching the contributions. Those earning below 6,000 monthly salary contributed 6% of their respective salaries as employers matched, NSSF said last year. So you can read that on page 7. I also see Raila to craft new coalition for 2027 race, says Wandai. National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Wandai, in a wide-ranging interview, reveals what his boss, Azimio leader Raila Odinga, is planning ahead of next elections. That is covered extensively on page 4 and 5, that interview with the minority leader. And you can read some more on a wide range of issues that was tackled. I also see governors fight state over ECDE takeover. That is on the back page of the Nation. And they're saying governors will boycott the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee meeting scheduled for Tuesday next week to discuss the implementation of recommendations made by the Presidential Working Party on education reforms on how best to manage the sector. This move, the governor said, is in protest against proposals to have the management of 30,400 early childhood development and education centers, which employ 54,000 teachers and have an enrollment of some 2.3 million children under the national government. So they're saying in numbers, 2.3 million, this is the number of learners enrolled in early childhood development and education centers. 58,000, this is the number of teachers who are employed in ECD centers countrywide. You can read that standoff between the county and the national government's back page of the Nation. Still on the back page, they are saying September is set to become Creative Industry Month. So there is a new bill which proposes to celebrate the contribution made by the creative industry to the national economy on the month of September every year. According to the proposal contained in the draft Creative Industries Bill 2023, the month-long celebrations will also seek to promote local goods, products and services emanating from the creative industries. And you can read that much more in details on the back page of the Nation. Page 2, poor grades in Turkana worry leaders in the county. So students joining Form 1 this week in various secondary schools in Turkana County, especially the two academic giants, that is Lodwar Boys High School and Turkana Girls National School, are not assured of mean grades of A at the end of their 4-year academic journey. You can read that. Bright but poor learners could miss Form 1. That is also covered on page 2. Puzzle of girl called to national boys' school. Yeah, so glorious hopes of academic success now appear to be a pipe dream after the 14-year-old received an admission letter to join Lenana, which is a boys' school.
What?
Yeah, so that confusion there.
Wow.
Siaya County Education Director Mbogwa Kavaki told the nation it was a simple error that would be resolved. Okay. Joy as girl gets a full scholarship, also covered on page 3 inside the Daily Nation. Ruto, graft war to cover 3 arms of state. So there is a change of tune there because it was all-out war against the judiciary, but seems the president has now said that the same will now be expanded to cover the other arms of state. President says he will not let anything get in the way of his government's affordable housing project. Read that on page 6. ODM polls board disbanded as party goes for devolved system. Party's management committee meeting led by Mr. Odinga proposes new coordination committee. Read that on page 8 inside the nation. We have the DN2 pullout, and today it's all about DN2 property. Revamp workspace to boost productivity. Yeah, and you don't have to break the bank to spruce up the office. Simply changing the colors and lighting can have a huge impact. Do you think we need the same here? Hope Media.
Yeah, I think that would motivate people to come to work when it looks nice and there are changes. Yeah, I think I would go with that.
All right.
Yes.
So we can have this pull out and you can place it in the relevant desk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
You.
I hope your door will be open.
All right, that is in the DN2 pullout. Then the world news. Trump warns of bedlam. Judges skeptical of his immunity claim. DRC court upholds Tshisekedi's re-election. That is on page 23. And the business page. State eyeing 14 billion shillings annual revenues through crops tax. And then January power prices jump 16.5% on fuel forex charges. And then I see Tsavo in NYT's 52 best places to visit in 2024 list, which is good in what is a significant recognition for Kenya. The New York Times has listed the Tsavo National Park as a premier destination in its prestigious 52 best places to visit in 2024. Not bad. Some good news there. Kwa michezo, it is going to be tough for champions Senegal, warns Mane. That is in as far as the Africa Cup of Nations is concerned, and the countdown continues. Only 2 days to go before the major African showpiece kicks off in Cote d'Ivoire. Mahrez reveals a recipe for success. Then you can read that. SuperSport now confirm live broadcast. I also see FKF stare at the registration. Football Kenya Federation and the sports registrar have clashed in recent years over legal matters. Read that on page 34 inside the Daily Nation.
All right, let us look at the Standard. And KCSE is still taking the lead page. And I see, where did these 175,000 students go? So in 2020, over 1 million students joined Form 1 under Uhuru administration's 100% transition from primary to secondary school policy. But the just released KCSE examination results show that only slightly under 900,000 students sat their test. Where did the 175,000 go over the 4 years? And 175,748 students is the number that cannot be accounted for and may have dropped out of school in the past 4 years. This is quite unfortunate, because what we see is that over 1 million students were admitted to Form 1 in 2020, but then only 899,000 was the number of candidates who sat KCSE in 2023. I think this is is a very interesting probe that needs to be done. You know, what happens to this, so many students that can't be accounted for? Why did they drop out? And this is a story that you can have a good look at in the Daily Nation. And I see here the policy. Former President administration initiated 100% transition policy for students for primary to secondary school. And then the execution, Education Minister downplays school dropout rate, says measures in place to ensure that the 100% transition is successful. That is Ezekiel Machogu, that is the Cabinet Secretary of Education. And also, I see something else on the top page. Behold, our fallen academic giants. In their heyday, they were the academic powerhouses that ruled the country with exemplary performances that attracted praise. Today, these schools have drifted off the top of the table and are now fighting to come back. That is a story you can find on pages 4 and 5. Yesterday, Gigi, we were looking at some of the schools that were not known before.
Yeah.
But then, shockingly, they've performed very well. But then now this news is just pointing us back to the fact that some of these giants that were known before, kuliendaje, because we are seeing that there's been a drop. And that story that we just mentioned about the 175 students who dropped out of secondary school is a story that you could find in more detail on page 2. Roughly 1 in 6 students cast a shadow over their 100% transition policy. And I also see a story here, and I think we also highlighted a similar one, that is twins triumph in KCSE exam. And I see in KCPE, the twins scored 407 and 409 marks before joining the same high school. And right now they've performed very well, because we have Jason and Jessica Mwaro who scored 84 and 82 points respectively at Pioneer School. How amazing is that when twins are literally performing very, very well? And I see the brothers say they have been studying and revising together, competing in research and learning. Now, this is a good competition. This is quite interesting. And they look so alike. Don't even know how the teachers differentiate them. Or even the parents definitely do. But yes, that's some good news. And I see 600 students, unfortunately, in Nandi miss exam results over suspected malpractice. This is a very huge number of students. As other students are celebrating, we have over 600 students in Nandi who have missed their results over suspected malpractice, a story that you can find written on page 3. And on page 4, several former academic stars are struggling to make comeback. Stakeholders and former students blame decline in performance on bad management, interference by locals, and low entry marks for Form 1s. Now, this is where it gets down, because now we are looking at what made these performances to drop. And that's a story that you can find on page 4. And unfortunately, we have another killing incident, student killed in boyfriend's house. This is another very, very unfortunate scenario. And I mean, we are having so many stories of this happening, and it's really, really sad and unfortunate. I think something needs to be done. All these killings and homicides, they've just gotten on another level. It's almost like people are looking at killing as something very simple. But life is sacred.
It is.
Life is very sacred, And I see something else here. Court allows police to hold killer cop for 7 days, and that killer cop is Constable Nicholas Musyoka. And I see judge directs probation office to interview victims' families and witnesses and file pre-bail report on January 17th. He says prosecution and IPOA failed to adduce compelling evidence on why Musyoka should be denied bail, a story that you can find in more detail in page 6. And I think this is just a repeat of what you have also mentioned about ODM disbanding elections board ahead of grassroots party polls. Raila Odinga's party is preparing for countrywide elections to pick grassroots leaders. Okay, that is on page 7. And on page 8, I see real motives of Ruto's verbal war on judiciary. Once again, it's this story. I see here that LSK president says Ruto is intent on creating an all-powerful presidency that is above the constitution. The judiciary started making bold decisions under the leadership of Mutunga and emboldened by the 2010 constitution. And the 2010 constitution law empowered the judiciary and gave it complete independence from the previously powerful presidency. And I see a quote here by Bobby Mkangi. We have only one challenge. The president intends to achieve one thing, which is to bully the courts into giving the decision that the executive wants. Interesting battle right there on page 8 of the Daily Nation. And lastly, before I go to the sports page, I see Cash Crunch to blame for delayed NGCDF money, says Ndongo. He refuted claims of diverting funds earmarked for NGCDF to other ministries. MPs considering calling for a special sitting to initiate ouster process of Treasury CS. And looking at the back page, we see here the sports page that is of the Standard. Overwhelmed Chelsea can't pass, can't score, can't compete.
The Blues.
The Blues.
They continue saying Blues.
You told me Manchester United is Red Devils.
Yeah.
What are Chelsea? Blue what?
The Blues.
The Blues. Just the Blues. Okay.
Yeah.
I see Is it Pochettino?
Pochettino. Right.
Yes. Calls on the Blues. Well, yeah. Are you a Chelsea fan?
No, not.
Manchester United?
Yes.
Me too. Calls on the Blues to stay positive despite Middlesbrough defeat. And I see the second leg of EFL semi-final takes place on Tuesday, January the 23rd. That is on the back page. And I have seen a very interesting statement here.
Yeah.
And the AFCON winner is ... So there is a prediction. Opta predicts who will win AFCON 2023 tournament in Ivory Coast. Main Senegal. Oh, Mane.
Mane,
not Mains.
Yeah.
Yes. You see, I'm not.
You're learning.
I'm learning something here. Mane, Senegal. Yes. So nilikwambia mimi ni wa Senegal. Nigeria.
That's your top
Senegal. Yeah. Mane, Senegal go into the tournament as reigning champions. Okay. Interesting. We are waiting to see what's going to happen. And I also love that they've also given a list of titles won in Egypt for Egypt. I see most appearances in the final. We see all that happening, and Egypt is definitely taking a very huge chunk of the wins. But we'll see what happens, because anything can happen. And I see one story here about the ladies in sports. I see Wanja happy to impact her skills on Malkia Strikers. Former national team setter tips the team to do well at Africa Games. Also, ladies open back at Vipingo Ridge. That is on the golf. We have tennis as well. Story that you can find on page 38. That is on the sports page. And that's it for the Standard.
All right. The Business Daily. KRA eyes over 14 billion from 5% farm produce tax. Tea, sugarcane, milk cooperatives to be largest sources. More farmers could be pushed to informal markets. So the government is eyeing at least 14.3 billion in additional revenue in these proposed withholding tax. These, even as agricultural experts fear the new tax measure aimed at widening the tax base is likely to be counterproductive, as it could push farmers to informal channels for selling their produce directly to consumers rather than through cooperative societies. Read that on page front page and page 2. I also see CBK, the Central Bank of Kenya, is warning mobile money service providers and banks of the rising risk of fraud from remote registration of customers. So CBK said in a circular that virtual onboarding of customers was denying mobile money players, including Safaricom, Airtel and Telkom Kenya, a chance to verify that the people sending and receiving money are the same ones that registered on their platforms. Read that on page the front page and page 2. January power prices to increase 16.5% on fuel forex charges. Kenya Power settles 35.8 billion power purchase debt as well. That is on page 6. And Imperial Dollar is impervious to lower rate hopes. That is covered on the back page of the Business Daily.
All right. That's it from the Daily dailies, the Standard and also the Business Daily. Beautiful, beautiful. And you can definitely tune in to Hope FM at the top of every hour. We have news on the go. We have Kipenga. We have all the news that you need at the top of every hour. Right here on Hope TV, we have, of course, Dira and News Watch at 9 p.m. Dira, that's at 7 p.m. So right about now, I see we have about 10 minutes to the top of the hour.
Yes.
Ni kama leo tulipenda magazeti sana. Lakini
it was important to get to know what is being reported.
Yes, that's true. So we can maybe usher in the video of the day today. We can have a look at it, come back, a bit of a chit chat just to understand what the message is about. And then later on, we'll be introducing the topic of the day and also who our guest is going to be. Please do stay with us.